Heather Robinson grew up believing she had a normal childhood. She had loving adoptive parents, a comfortable home, and no reason to question her past. But when she turned 15, everything changed. One afternoon, she overheard a conversation that shattered her world. Her uncle, John Robinson, had been arrested. At first, she thought it might have been for fraud or theft. But the truth was far worse. He had been charged with multiple crimes, and among his victims was Heather's biological mother. John Robinson had spent years luring women with promises of new opportunities. He gained their trust only for them to mysteriously disappear. He manipulated and deceived, covering his tracks so well that authorities struggled to connect the dots. Heather's mother had been one of the women who had unknowingly stepped into the hands of a criminal. The revelation hit Heather like a wave of ice. The man she had trusted, the relative she had once considered family, was responsible for her mother's disappearance. Her entire childhood had been built on a secret, a terrible, horrifying truth she had never expected to face. Investigators soon uncovered chilling evidence that linked him to more victims. The media swarmed the case, exposing years of deception and unanswered questions. He had led a double life, operating quietly while countless families remained unaware of what had happened to their loved ones. Heather was forced to navigate the aftermath, learning to rebuild her identity in the wake of the truth. Her biological mother had not abandoned her. She had been taken from her, and the man responsible had lived among them, unnoticed, unchallenged. Over time, Heather refused to let his crimes define her. She found strength in her survival, sharing her story to shed light on the lives lost. She refused to carry the weight of his actions, proving that even in the face of darkness, there was a way forward. John Robinson was convicted, his legacy confined to prison walls. But Heather stepped out of the shadows, refusing to let his past dictate her future. Heather Robinson had spent years trying to reconcile the truth. She had been raised in the shadow of a criminal, her entire life unknowingly tied to one of the most chilling true crime cases in recent history. The man she had once trusted, the man she had called family, had lived a double life. And now his crimes had been exposed to the world. For months after John Robinson's arrest, Heather found herself at the center of a media frenzy. Reporters wanted interviews. Crime enthusiasts dissected every detail of the case. But she wasn't just another headline, she was a survivor. And that was something she wasn't sure how to handle. She had spent her childhood believing she had been abandoned, that her biological mother had chosen to leave her behind. But now she knew the truth. Her mother hadn't left her at all, she had been taken. And Heather had been raised by the very man responsible for her disappearance. The weight of it was suffocating. How could she move forward knowing that her past was stained with the actions of a murderer? Every memory was tainted now. The birthdays, the holidays, the moments she had spent laughing in a house where evil lurked just beneath the surface. As the case unfolded, investigators discovered just how deeply John Robinson had manipulated his victims. He was a predator, someone who thrived on control, deception, and fear. He had lured women with promises of jobs, stability, a fresh start. But instead of helping them, he had erased them. Authorities worked tirelessly to uncover the full extent of his crimes. More missing persons cases were linked to him. More families learned that their loved ones had fallen victim to his schemes. The trial was intense, filled with testimonies from survivors and relatives of the women who had vanished. Heather sat through the proceedings, her heart pounding with every new revelation. She listened as prosecutors detailed how Robinson had carried out his crimes, how he had taken advantage of vulnerable women, how he had managed to evade suspicion for so long. At times, she felt like she couldn't breathe, like she was trapped in a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. But she refused to let herself collapse under the weight of it all. She refused to let his actions define her. She took control of her story. Instead of hiding, she spoke out. She told the world what it was like to live unknowingly in the presence of evil. She shared her journey, how she had found the truth, how she had learned to rebuild her identity. She became an advocate, turning her pain into power. John Robinson was sentenced, his crimes sealed away behind prison walls. But Heather refused to let his actions dictate her future. She moved forward, determined to build a life that was her own. The past would always be there. The scars would never fully fade, but she had survived. And that was something no one could take away from her.